They fed 5,000-year-old Sumerian tablets into an AI translation system. What came back wasn't mythology, it was technical documentation, instructions for genetic manipulation, warnings about atmospheric collapse, detailed astronomical charts showing planetary orbits that shouldn't have been visible to the naked eye, and a timeline, a precise countdown to cyclical catastrophes that have destroyed advanced civilizations 7 times before. The AI didn't just translate words, it revealed patterns human scholars missed for centuries, patterns that suggest the Sumerians weren't the first civilization in Mesopotamia. They were the survivors, and everything they wrote was a warning meant for us. Hit that like button and subscribe, because what artificial intelligence found buried in ancient cuneiform will shake you to your core. Oxford University, 2024. Researchers feed 50,000 cuneiform tablets into a neural network trained on pattern recognition and linguistic structures. The AI doesn't translate word by word. It identifies patterns across thousands of documents simultaneously, connects fragments separated by centuries. Within weeks, it produces translations of previously unreadable tablets. Then it hits something else. Tablets from Nippur dated to 2900 BCE, written in archaic Sumerian that human translators struggled with for decades. The AI processes them in 4 hours. Not prayers, not king lists, technical specifications, instructions for the restructuring of the life essence. Genetic engineering, described in methodical detail with terminology that reads like modern molecular biology. The tablets describe selecting specimens, isolating specific traits, combining essence patterns from different creatures to create new forms. Success rates, failure modes, ethical debates about which modifications were permissible. One passage describes creating workers, beings designed for physical labor. Another discusses enhancing cognitive capacity. A third warns about genetic instabilities appearing generations after modification. The language is too specific to be metaphorical, too systematic to be mythology. These are laboratory notes, research journals, scientists documenting their work. The AI identifies fragments scattered across hundreds of tablets. Human scholars catalogued them separately, never recognizing they belong together. The AI assembles them, reconstructs the testimony of accumulated wisdom. A chronicle describing 7 previous civilizations that rose and collapsed, each cycle lasting 3,000 to 5,000 years, each ending in catastrophe. Floods, earthquakes, climate collapse, celestial impacts. The chronicle provides specific dates using astronomical markers, solar eclipses, planetary conjunctions. When researchers run the calculations, they align. Real celestial events from 33,000 BCE forward. 7 catastrophic periods matching geological evidence. The chronicle predicts future catastrophes, describes cycles as inevitable, driven by celestial mechanics operating on timescales of thousands of years, solar activity patterns, magnetic field reversals, gravitational perturbations. The 8th cycle started with Sumer, around 4000 BCE, will reach crisis point when specific astronomical conditions align. Modern researchers compare these conditions to current data. The alignment is beginning. Timeline suggests heightened risk within 200 to 500 years. One passage translates, "We inscribe this knowing our words will outlast our cities. Waters will rise and fires will fall, but the clay remembers. Those who come after must know. The wheel turns. The sky threatens. Prepare as we failed to prepare." The AI analyzes texts human scholars classified as mythology. The Anunnaki, beings who came from the heavens and taught civilization. Cross-referenced with technical tablets, the descriptions contain precise details that don't fit mythology. The texts describe the Anunnaki arriving during the sixth cycle, approximately 12,000 years ago, not gods. The Sumerian language is explicit. Those who from heaven came. A descriptive title. They arrive in vessels with specific technical details, dimensions, materials, propulsion systems emitting fire and thunder, landing sites marked by burned earth where nothing grows, descriptions matching radiation scorching. The Anunnaki teach survivors after catastrophe, agriculture, astronomy, metallurgy, mathematics, architecture, written language, the foundations of civilization delivered as systematic instruction, and genetic modification. Tablets describe mingling their essence with the essence of the earthborn, creating hybrid populations, longer lifespans, greater intelligence, origins of demigod bloodlines in worldwide mythologies. One text contains the protocol, instructions for maintaining civilization through catastrophic cycles, build in stone, encode knowledge in durable formats, establish priesthoods as knowledge keepers, create distributed preservation sites that can't all be destroyed simultaneously. The AI assembles 47 tablets containing Anunnaki technical specifications, power generation systems, communication devices, medical instruments, manipulating genetic code. One tablet describes the eye that sees far, specifications for a telescope dated to 2800 BCE, 3,000 years before its supposed invention. Another describes metallurgical formulas for creating specific alloys. Exact ratios modern metallurgists confirm produce optimal properties. Knowledge taught, not discovered through trial and error. Most disturbing, tablets describing weapons, fire that consumes cities, storm that tears flesh from bone, poison that dwells in earth for generations, nuclear weapons, biological warfare, radioactive contamination. The texts describe war among the Anunnaki, factions using these weapons, cities destroyed in fire brighter than the sun, regions rendered uninhabitable. After this war, the Anunnaki depart, leave behind survivors who become the basis for human civilization. The AI processes astronomical tablets, thousands of observations. Human scholars translated them as basic planetary tracking. The AI reveals deeper complexity. Sumerian astronomers tracked objects invisible to naked eyes. Tablets describe planetary moons, satellites of Jupiter and Saturn, too distant to see without telescopes. Accurate orbital periods, relative sizes, color descriptions matching modern observations. They describe Neptune and Uranus, not officially discovered until the 18th and 19th centuries. Tablets place them correctly, provide accurate orbital periods, note their blue coloration. Impossible knowledge for Bronze Age observers. One collection maps the solar system with remarkable accuracy. Planetary distances expressed in units that match modern measurements. Orbital eccentricities, axial tilts, heliocentric understanding, 4,000 years before Copernicus. The tablets describe additional objects, bodies in elongated orbits passing through periodically. One called Nibiru, with a 3,600-year orbit. Tablets describe it causing gravitational perturbations, triggering volcanic activity, destabilizing Earth's magnetic field. Other tablets describe comet swarms, periods when Earth passes through dense debris fields. Correlate these with impacts, climate disruptions, civilization collapses, the sky raining fire, darkness lasting years. Global cooling, crop failures. Geological evidence supports this. Impact craters dated to periods in the tablets. Iridium layers indicating extraterrestrial impacts. Climate data showing sudden temperature drops matching Sumerian chronologies. One tablet contains the Master Calendar, a system extending 432,000 years into the past. When astronomers process it, the calendar functions, accurately predicts planetary positions and eclipses across the entire period. The calendar marks 7 major catastrophes over 432,000 years, each separated by 50,000 to 70,000 years. Correlates with ice ages, magnetic reversals, impact crater dating. The 8th cycle is marked. Current, crisis point approaching. The AI identifies tablets describing human origins in impossibly modern terms, not supernatural creation. Modification of existing species using terminology matching genetic engineering. Humans described as mixed beings, combining essence patterns from 2 sources, indigenous Earth population and the Anunnaki, selection of specimens, extraction of essence, multiple attempts before success, hybrid populations with traits from both. The tablets describe different populations modified for different purposes: physical labor, intellectual capacity, administrative functions, systematic specialized creation. Modern genetics provides disturbing confirmation. Human DNA contains anomalies, genetic markers that don't fit standard evolution. Fusion of chromosome 2, unique in humans, found nowhere else in nature. Tablets describe this fusion. Call it sealing of paired essence strands to create capacity for higher thought. Claim it was deliberate. The genetic basis for human intelligence. One tablet contains the genome map, symbolic representation of human genetic structure. When geneticists compare it to modern genome understanding, correspondences appear. Functional organization aligns, genes grouped correctly, regulatory regions identified, junk DNA marked as reserve patterns for future activation. Tablets describe ethical debates among the Anunnaki, some arguing modification violated natural law, others claiming necessity. Compromise, minimal modification for intelligence, allowing natural evolution to continue. Active modification ended 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, end of last ice age, same time frame as the 7th catastrophe. The AI's final analysis integrates all tablet categories: technical documents, warning chronicles, Anunnaki texts, astronomical data, genetic records. When processed together, they form a coherent system, a comprehensive knowledge preservation protocol left by an advanced civilization that survived multiple catastrophes and wanted future humans to have the same chance. The protocol explains why the Sumerians wrote on clay tablets, not primitive technology, deliberate choice based on survival criteria. Clay survives floods, becomes waterlogged but doesn't dissolve. Fire hardens rather than destroys it. Burning buildings actually preserve tablets better than climate control. Tablets buried in collapsed structures remain readable for millennia, the most durable data storage medium available to Bronze Age technology, specifically selected for longevity. It explains Sumerian architectural choices. Ziggurats aren't just temples or monuments, they're multifunctional structures, landmarks visible for miles, serving as navigation aids and territorial markers. Geodetic reference points for surveying and mapping. Astronomical observatories with sightlines aligned to celestial events, built to survive earthquakes using sophisticated engineering. Interlocking bricks distributing stress, bitumen waterproofing, preventing water damage, foundation systems spreading weight, designed for permanence across millennia. It explains the priesthood system, not merely religious leadership. Knowledge keepers who maintained astronomical observations, recorded celestial events, preserved technical knowledge through teaching and ritual. Information encoded in religious practices ensured knowledge survived, even when scientific understanding was lost during collapse periods. Astronomy became astrology, but preserved observational data. Chemistry became alchemy, but maintained practical techniques. Engineering became sacred architecture, but continued building functional structures. Knowledge persisted through civilizational dark ages. The protocol describes 3 levels of knowledge preservation: public level, practical information everyone needed for survival and civilization maintenance; agricultural techniques, basic mathematics; legal systems, health practices, shared openly to maintain functioning society; intermediate level, technical knowledge for specialists in various crafts and professions; metallurgy, medicine, advanced mathematics, architecture, engineering, taught within professional guilds and transmitted through apprenticeship systems; specialized knowledge preserved within expert communities; deep level, core scientific knowledge too dangerous for general population or too complex for those without extensive training; genetic engineering principles, advanced energy systems, astronomical prediction, catastrophe warning signs, preserved in sealed texts, coded language, and initiated mystery schools. Knowledge shared only with those prepared to receive it responsibly and capable of understanding it correctly. The AI identifies tablets containing the deep knowledge, previously dismissed as mythology, mystical nonsense, or religious allegory. When decoded using context from technical and astronomical tablets, they reveal substantive content: instructions for reconstructing advanced technologies, warnings about dangers and misuse, guidelines for when and how to apply dangerous knowledge. One text describes something researchers call the activation sequence, instructions for recognizing when catastrophe approaches and initiating survival protocols. The sequence lists specific astronomical conditions to monitor: planetary alignments, solar activity indicators, magnetic field measurements, comet swarm trajectories, environmental indicators, seismic activity patterns, climate instabilities, volcanic eruption frequencies, social collapse patterns, resource depletion, warfare escalation, population migration. When multiple indicators align, knowledge keepers should activate preservation measures, distribute seed stocks to multiple geographically separated locations, encode essential knowledge in durable formats, and place copies in protected sites. Identify geologically stable refuge areas at appropriate elevations and distances from coasts. Gather specimens of important plant and animal species for genetic preservation. Prepare underground shelters in stable regions. Train survival groups in essential skills. The sequence describes organized survival preparation by those who understand what's coming. The tablets indicate this sequence has been activated 7 times before, successfully preserving knowledge and populations through catastrophic cycles. Each time, civilization collapses, but humanity survives, rebuilds using preserved knowledge, eventually achieves technological sophistication, then faces the next catastrophe. But each cycle benefits from the knowledge preserved from previous cycles, allowing faster rebuilding and greater understanding. We are the 8th iteration, built on knowledge preserved from the 7th cycle, which was built on knowledge from the 6th, extending back through all previous cycles. And the astronomical conditions in the tablets, the markers indicating catastrophe approaches, are beginning to align. The AI translates a final tablet found at Nippur, written in the latest period before Sumerian civilization faded into Babylonian culture. Approximately 2000 BCE, a last message from knowledge keepers who saw their world changing and wanted to transmit their understanding to whoever might find it. To those who come after, in whatever age, you read these words. The wheel turns as it has turned 7 times before. We have preserved what we could against the coming darkness. Encoded knowledge in earth and stone that outlast empires. Scattered seeds across safe lands where waters cannot reach. Marked the sky's warnings in temples that endure through ages. When the stars align, as recorded in our charts, know that time grows short. When the earth shakes and the waters rise and the sky darkens, know that the cycle turns. Prepare as we prepared. Gather knowledge. Preserve life. Seek high ground. Survive as we survived. Remember that civilization is not ended but dormant, waiting to bloom again when conditions allow. The 8th age will rise from the 7th's ashes, as yours will rise from ours should the wheel turn once more. The pattern persists across time. The knowledge endures through catastrophe, death and rebirth eternal, until perhaps one cycle learns enough to break free. The AI has revealed what human scholars missed for centuries. The Sumerians weren't primitive Bronze Age people inventing mythology to explain the world. They were inheritors, receivers of knowledge from the Anunnaki, who were themselves inheritors from previous cycles extending back hundreds of thousands of years. An unbroken chain of knowledge preservation, transmission, loss, and rediscovery spanning the entire history of human civilization and beyond. And their warning is clear. Catastrophe is cyclical, driven by celestial mechanics operating on timescales of thousands of years. The 8th cycle is underway. Started approximately 6,000 years ago with the founding of Sumerian civilization. The crisis point approaches within the next few centuries based on astronomical alignments. Everything they wrote, every technical specification, every astronomical chart, every genetic record, every survival protocol was left intentionally for us, for the people of the 8th cycle who would eventually develop the technology to read and understand what they preserved. Not mythology, not religious belief, not primitive superstition. A survival manual, technical documentation, instructions from those who survived previous catastrophes about what's coming next and how to prepare. Whether we listen, whether we take the warnings seriously, whether we activate our own preservation protocols, determines if human civilization survives the 8th catastrophe or joins the previous 7 as archaeological fragments for the 9th cycle to discover and study. The ancient texts have spoken across millennia. The AI has translated their warnings into language we can understand. The knowledge is now available. What we do with it determines our future, and possibly the future of all knowledge on Earth.